The government shutdown is in its second month, and there's no end in sight. Who blinks first? Welcome to Nevada Politics Today. I'm your host, Victor Jakes. The woman with the answer is Debra Saunders, the Las Vegas Review-Journal's White House correspondent. Debra, welcome to the show.
Hi, Victor. How are you today?
I'm doing great, better than the government. Mitch McConnell's bringing up two bills tomorrow to potentially reopen the government. The shutdown's in its second month. One of them is Trump's compromise bill that he announced on Saturday. The second is a shorter-term spending bill that would reopen the government through February 8th. Do either of those bills have a chance of passing?
Not right now. I mean, let's talk about where we are right now. We still don't have the sides publicly moving toward each other so that there can be a compromise. What we have are Republicans saying, look at where we have compromised because we're willing to spend, because we're willing to have 3-year protections for DACA kids. But Trump is still not moving. He still wants money for the wall. Democrats say not only do they not want to spend any money on the wall, but they don't want to even negotiate until the shutdown's over. And then Democrats are looking at his proposal, and he has moved, and they're saying, you're not giving us what we want.
So do you think that Democrats are going to give up something on the wall? There's been talk about they would give up something for border security, but not for a wall specifically. Do you think that's where this ends up?
Well, I mean, before you even get to that, Victor, they have to agree to vote for something with the shutdown not being over. So, I mean, they're sort of saying, no, you've got to vote for something clean and end it. I think in the end they will end up that. There are moderate Democrats who have said that they don't have a problem with the wall. As we know, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said it's an immorality. But, Steny Hoyer, the number 2 Democrat, says, no, walls are okay. And as Republicans like to counter back, if walls are immoral, Madam Speaker, then why don't you put out legislation saying we have to tear down the ones that exist? So that's part of the political wordplay.
What's the morale like at the White House? I think politically it hasn't played out as well for the Trump administration as they would have wanted. Some of that was self-induced. Do you get the sense that the White House still thinks this is a fight worth having, or are they looking for a face-saving way out of it?
Well, the White House right now is very understaffed because of the shutdown. So everybody who's there is working like crazy. And I think that they see themselves as being in this until they can get a win out of it. So, but that's sort of what it's like working in this White House.
One of the things that's gotten dragged into the shutdown is the State of the Union, which is supposed to be next week. And then last week, Nancy Pelosi sent a letter saying she wanted to reschedule because of security concerns. What's the latest? Are we having a State of the Union next week?
Well, President Trump sent a letter today to speakers saying, hey, you invited me. I plan on showing up. Now, she can bar him from going there. So it's now in her court. Victor, I just don't get what either side thinks that they get out of this whole squabble, because I think Trump got a little victory when he took away Nancy Pelosi's plane for a trip to Brussels and Afghanistan, sort of showing two can play at this game too. If you're going to sort of kind of disinvite me because of the shutdown, I can do something back. But really, does either side want to have President Trump in the Capitol, on the floor of Congress, talking about the State of the Union when the government shut down? I think everybody looks bad. It's a fight I don't understand. I get that nobody likes losing, but I don't see how anybody wins out of this.
So what do you think happens? Does Nancy Pelosi physically bar him from coming? Does he try and go there and make her physically prevent him from addressing Congress?
That would be pretty ugly, wouldn't it? I mean, he could go to another venue. He could speak in the Senate floor or Library of Congress. He could go to another state and deliver the remarks and then hand something written to Congress. But he won't get. He really likes spectacle, this president. He really likes going. I mean, he's enjoyed making this address where you have the Supreme Court justices and you have all these high-level diplomats. He really likes the pomp and circumstance. I think that perhaps Nancy Pelosi thought that by sending this letter, she would make the president realized that he was going to miss out on something he liked, which is delivering that speech, in the Capitol. But, he also gave up going to Mar-a-Lago. He's willing to give up things in order to get what he wants here. So I don't know how this is going to end.
And then the last question on this is, when do you think it's going to end? What's your best guess on when the government reopens it, even temporarily?
I'm thinking that they will want to end it before the next pay period. So I would like to think it would happen in the next 2 weeks.
The 2020 elections are less than 2 years away, and almost every Democrat in the country, it seems, has announced they're running for president. What are your thoughts on Elizabeth Warren's candidacy?
So I always thought that Elizabeth Warren was flawed because of her claims about being of Native American heritage as she was working at Harvard. And I think that the fact that she put out her DNA showed there are a lot of Democrats were angry when she released her DNA, saying you shouldn't let Trump get in your head and dictate what you're doing. But I think it also told people that she really didn't have a big claim for that. And I think it's hurt her. But I have to tell you, I thought her announcement was brilliant. She was smart to be first. She had a nice video. I'm not talking about the video where she has the beard,
right?
Okay. But her roll-up video, I think she showed herself as somebody who's a fighter. She seemed like a genuine person. I think she's had a good start. I think a very strong start for her.
Yeah, one of the people she's going to have to fight for that nomination is Senator Kamala Harris from California. She announced this week that she's running for president. What are your thoughts on her candidacy?
Okay, now first thing to know, Victor, Kamala.
Oh man, I blew it.
Kamala. People just so you know, it's Kamala Harris, and the senator is somebody who lived in California for 3 decades and has known her for quite some time. A lot of Californians are surprised to see how well she's doing. I just think she's a very flawed candidate because of her record as a San Francisco district attorney. And the fact that she's been, I think that that's going to haunt her over time.
How is that going to haunt her? What are some of the things she did in San Francisco that won't play as well on a national stage?
Thank you for asking. When she was district attorney of San Francisco, there was a sanctuary city policy that she took to an extreme. And if there were people who were caught dealing drugs, and they said that they were minors, rather than turn them over, prosecute them, turn them over to ICE, she actually flew some people to Tegucigalpa. She let a number of people go into halfway houses from which they were able to escape. And you didn't even have to prove that you were under 18. I just think that's going to really hurt her.
So I'm going to end with this even harder question than when the government is going to open. Who is your favorite for the Democrat presidential nomination in 2020?
I think the person who is most likely to win is Michael Bloomberg, who has not quite declared.
Really?
Yes. I think that you have a lot of people running as progressives, and let's face it, he's very far to the left on climate change, on gun control, and he's the guy who actually who passed a law saying that you couldn't buy a big gulp, right, a 40-ounce drink.
Right.
But I think that he I think he has a great record. I think that he has smart political instincts, and I think that he would be formidable. I really do.
Well, it's going to be fascinating to watch, and you will be right there in the thick of it. Debra, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Victor. And by the way, I thought the shutdown would be over by now, so my predictions not always so right.
Don't bet on it then. Well, we'll see how it goes. And thank you for watching. Remember, if it involves Nevada politics, we're talking about it right here on Nevada Politics Today. I'll see you next week.